Hello, everyone. It's Stephen Hunter with the Prophetic Ronin, and I just wanted to share some things that the Lord had dropped on my spirit, just to give a word of encouragement through it all. My scripture reference is going to be from Genesis chapter 32, verse 22 through 31. Just to give a little bit of context, this is the story of Jacob at the Jabbok River. And so a little bit of history beforehand is basically Jacob was a bit of a trickster. He tricked his brother Esau out of the birthright. And so it had been some time since he had seen his brother, and he finds himself about to encounter his brother after a long period of time. So he basically had tricked his brother out of his brother's birthright, which was essentially a blessing that was given to the firstborn. It would give him basically authority over the family name. It would give him all of the rights to property and other kinds of things like that after his father died. So basically, Jacob tricked his brother out of it, and he's about to have this meeting with his brother. His brother, during that time that they had been apart, had amassed a large amount of wealth and resources. And so he knew that he, had a large group of men with him. And so Jacob was afraid that he would basically be torn asunder. So what he ends up doing is he splits his family, his property into two different camps, and he sends them out one after another. And so he finds himself at this place at the Jabbok River where he's alone. Okay, he's alone. There's nobody else around but him, and he encounters this entity, this man, this angel, which he wrestles. He wrestles with this angel of God, overnight, up to the point to where he basically can't fight anymore till daybreak. The angel tells him to release him, and he says, "No, I won't release you until you bless me." Right? And so I just want to kind of rewind a little bit and talk about what that kind of means. Right? Let's take a closer look at what really is taking place and how it relates today. Jacob found himself in a place of isolation. Okay, he was by himself, where he was basically face to face with nothing but himself, right? He had to come to terms with who he was and what God had called him to do and him to become. Okay. I know a lot of us during this time of this pandemic are finding ourselves in isolation, right? It's a time to where a lot of the distractions have been peeled away. You're face to face with yourself. Right. And if you don't actually deal with the things that are inside of yourself, then eventually they'll deal with you. So we find ourselves at this metaphorical place where we're wrestling. All of us have things to wrestle with, right now. And it's up to us, each and every one of us, to deal with them respectively, and take responsibility to spend some quiet time to where, you're just alone with you and God. This is time for you to wrestle some things that God's been trying to get your attention from for years. Oftentimes we just get into a habit of busying ourselves with busy work, right? We don't like to be by ourselves. We don't like to be with our own thoughts. We don't like to think, right? Causes some of us to think about things we haven't thought of in years. And those are exactly the things we need to think of, right? And so I want to encourage everyone that during this time of isolation, this time of quarantine, that you, instead of wishing that things would go back to normal and you could get back to your life, that you take the time and find the opportunity in isolation and in silence and actually deal with some things that maybe some of us have not dealt with or faced in years, right? We have to wrestle some things. It says in the word that, salvation comes through fear and trembling, which means that you have to wrestle internally with some things. I'm sorry, but faith is not always an easy thing, as it may have been sold to us in certain churches and whatnot. Okay, this isn't for you to have an easy ride. You're going to earn this one way or another. And so for you to be able to come into the place where, like Jacob, came into, because after he wrestled, what did he come into? He came into his promise, and he came into his new name. Jacob's name was Israel. Okay. And of course, we know the promises that came with Israel. Another point that I would like to highlight is the root word of what Jabbok actually means. Jabbok in Hebrew actually means to empty oneself, right? That's one derivative of the meaning, is to empty oneself. So when you're empty, you come at a place of humility. Okay, you can't be humble if you keep on trying. God's been trying to get your attention for years and years and years, and you keep running. And now is the time. Right? Now is the time. God loved you so much that he gave the world a pandemic to get you to sit down, slow down, and pay attention to him. And so I want to encourage you, all of you, to take advantage of that, and to seek the Lord while he may be found, and to really deal with yourself, deal with the issues that you are not comfortable with dealing with. Okay? Because after you do, there will be a place of promise for you as well. Okay, so I want to thank you all for listening. I want to speak a word of encouragement to and for all of you. Don't lose heart during these times. We will survive. We will make it through this. But, this is a time for us to spend and take the opportunity in quiet reflection. So I love y'all. I'm praying for y'all, and I'll see y'all out there.